On this episode of New Mexico Frontiers, for more than 60 years, Sandia and Los Alamos labs have been quietly monitoring the skies from space for any potential nuclear threats. How the next generation of technology will sharpen the focus on the next generation of deterrence. Plus, one tech company based in Corrales could change the way you and your family experience museums in the future. And a revolutionary new treatment for ACL injuries is now being offered at Loveless. What it could mean for patients next on New Mexico Frontiers.
This is New Mexico Frontiers. Presented by Veris Research.
Hello and welcome to New Mexico Frontiers. I'm Chad Brummett. It's a phrase that most athletes never want to hear, ACL reconstruction. However, as we found out, New Mexico recently had its first operation for a new procedure that could mean better success and recovery both on and off the field. Whether it's on the court, on the gridiron, or on the pitch, a torn ACL can often mean the end of a season, or in extreme cases, the end of a promising career.
What we've had problems with in times past, where ACL repairs wouldn't heal themselves.
Dr. Tanya Pence, an orthopedic surgeon at Loveless Westside Hospital, knows all about the injury and the various problems that can arise in post-op recovery. A typical ACL reconstruction involves a graft using either part of a patient's own tissue or tissue from a deceased donor.
There are always issues, unfortunately, when you're taking grafts from a person where they can, especially let's say with the hamstring, they can end up having some hamstring weakness going forward, and that can delay return to play sometimes or affect the patient's ability going forward to play those particular types of sports.
In addition to weakness in the hamstring, traditional reconstructions can also leave patients with pain in their knees and pain from the area the tissue is harvested for the graft. Donor grafts can also leave the ACL tendon itself weaker in the patient. However, a new type of procedure is available to certain patients that's revolutionizing the way the procedure is performed and the overall success of recovery. It's called BEAR, and it stands for Bridge Enhanced ACL Reconstruction.
Really what it allows us to do is to repair the ACL directly to itself, but with this implant, we use the patient's own blood and put that onto the implant itself and introduce it into the knee.
Mayak Orthopedics introduced the implant a couple years ago, and according to Dr. Pence, the procedure has been performed more than 6,000 times nationwide. And she recently performed the first BEAR implant here in the state. The implant protects the blood clotting, which is necessary for healing the injury from the knee's synovial fluid. And so far, New Mexico's inaugural patient is doing well.
He seemed in really great spirits. He seemed very excited early on, having very minimal pain.
Dr. Pence says recovery time is still about the same as the traditional procedure, but long-term success is showing greater promise.
They're seemingly getting that strength back a little bit more quickly, although we still take it slow because we need the ACL itself to heal. And so we aren't returning people to play any more quickly per se, but when they are ready to return, it seems that they are much more sport ready.
Which for Dr. Pence and her staff means greater success in the OR and on the field.
Having something to offer them that is much less invasive, if you will, and potentially even better than the reconstructions that we have, and optimizing them for anything that might come for them in the future is very exciting.
An additional point of pride for Dr. Pence, the entire team that performed the procedure was female, a growing trend in the field of orthopedics. Well, coming up, we're headed to Corrales to get a glimpse at the future of interactive exhibits and how it could revolutionize museums around the world. And later, New Space Nexus is hoping their network of space-based businesses grows with the addition of Varda Space Industries. The billions that company could save in an unlikely industry.
Veris Research is the title sponsor of New Mexico Frontiers.
Veris Research was founded on the idea to have a culture and an environment where talented people could come to pursue their passions. If you are passionate about technology and want to make a difference, join our team at Veris Research. Let's create solutions that matter.
Digital screens have made their way into almost every aspect of our life, including museums. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. As we discovered, the interactive technology is changing the way that we learn about history, and that's just the beginning of IDEUM's possibilities.
When
was the last time you visited a museum? Well, according to Statista, museums across the country are experiencing a drop-off in attendance, with nearly half of all surveyed museums seeing fewer guests in 2024 compared to their pre-pandemic numbers.
Traditional museum exhibits, in order to tell a lot of information, to kind of appeal to both sort of the novice who's just becoming curious about the content and the expert who's visiting and wants to learn more, the museums and interpretive centers used to have to plaster their walls with text, which could be very overwhelming to a lot of people.
And while the content of museums remains vital to our interpretation of history, the way we are receiving this information is changing, thanks in large part to these little devices.
Actively engaging in interactive exhibits allows the person to select their path of interest. It's instantly customizable to their track. So we love using digital interactives in that way. It feels like it is with the visitor as opposed to talking at them. And we love that ability to allow visitors to explore content in ways that they find engaging.
Rebecca Schreckengast is the Chief Experience Officer for IDEUM, a creative technology company.
We produce media for museums and corporate clients, usually interactive media, linear media, as well as we have a product line of interactive touchscreens, a large format that we manufacture here in Corrales.
IDEUM didn't always call New Mexico home, however. Years ago, the company founder Jim Spadaccini and his wife Angela came to the state while working on a project at Chaco Canyon.
And they were traveling back and forth to that part of New Mexico and sort of fell in love with the culture, the history, and ended up moving the company here to Corrales.
Now, if you have been to the Natural History Museum, the National Hispanic Cultural Center, or the New Mexico Museum of Art, you have probably seen IDEUM's handiwork. Their fully customizable interactive displays range from 32-inch widescreens all the way up to 86-inch behemoths. But that's just the beginning.
We've created round touchscreens, very elongated touchscreens for specific applications. Our primary clients are museums, but we also sell to corporate clients and government.
Schreckengast says that they have created interactive display products for everyone from the Roswell UFO Museum all the way up to the Smithsonian.
Our large format touchscreens sell all over the world. We have touchscreens and we've sold them to over 60 countries now.
The customization doesn't stop with the manufacturing of these installations. IDEUM is developing software packages that will be fully customizable by the end user, with the idea being that as exhibits evolve and grow, so too can the interactivity and interpretation for their guests. It also means that the static displays of old can become responsive and interactive, allowing for greater immersion into an exhibition.
Our primary audience is museums, and working in museums, you are creating digital experiences for social environments, and in that you want multiple people to get around it. And when we have lots of touch points, that means we can get lots of people using a screen at the same time, and that gives us a real opportunity for them to have conversations about content and to really make meaning in those spaces together.
With more than 40 experienced employees and very little competition for this niche technology, Schreckengast says IDEUM is already working on next generation experiences that will provide 180-degree screens controlled by a central console, going even further into the past, into the present, and beyond.
And it's with this sort of diverse expertise that our team has that we'll be able to create the types of experiences that we will all experience in the future, but we'll be doing them in the next decade.
Now, according to IDEUM, their immersive technology will be part of a new master plan for the upcoming African American Museum and Cultural Center being developed right here in Albuquerque. Well, after the break, find out how a California-based company is broadening their network with some friends right here in New Mexico. And later, how Sandia and Los Alamos National Labs have been keeping a global eye on the skies and the next-gen technology enriching nuclear deterrence. New Mexico Frontiers will be right back. Now, you may not think of space when you think of medicine, but a California-based company is making this proven method of development potentially less expensive. The nonprofit space organization New Space Nexus recently hosted a special event celebrating a milestone for the company that could have a major impact on the pharmaceutical industry. It's a party at the launch pad, but the star of this shindig is nestled quietly in the corner at New Space. In fact, the guest of honor, which is about the size of a washing machine, has quite the intergalactic story to tell. Varda is a California-based life sciences company that specializes in processing such things as pharmaceuticals in zero gravity, then returning them to Earth for expansion and distribution.
This is actually something that's been known that you can create novel pharmaceutical products in orbit for quite some time. So actually, it was one of the early experiments on the International Space Station was developing new crystalline forms for pharmaceuticals in orbit. The problem was that there wasn't really a way to commercialize this, and therefore the research and development dollars never really supported the business case. But now that we have a way to commercialize this, we're hoping that we turn the tide there.
Varda's solution is their Winnebago series of orbital capsules. Standing less than 5 feet tall and weighing just under 200 pounds, these tiny travelers are revolutionizing how such experiments return home. Part of the problem with commercialization is the sheer cost of getting novel pharmaceuticals and other experiments back and forth from the ISS. Their Winnebago 1 craft touched down in Utah last year, and their latest, Winnebago 3, returned from orbit in May, touching down in South Australia. And that cost-effective business practice has grabbed a lot of attention.
It turns out that because we are returning at high hypersonic speeds, there are other use cases both in the DoD as well as civil applications that are also very interesting.
Going up into the sky and
reaching speeds over Mach 25 upon re-entry, Varda's technology has the newly named Department of War as well as other agencies looking into how their tech could benefit other applications.
NASA is interested in flying different kinds of materials on the outside of our capsules so that they can prove out that it's going to be safe for things like interplanetary missions.
New Space Nexus founder Casey Durad says that she is excited for the prospect of what Varda means for New Mexico's growing space industry, citing a growing relationship with one of their local partners.
We're hoping that they partner with us and maybe even set up here in the launch pad for a little bit of the testing, maybe doing some of the testing here. They have partnered with one of our now local companies, Rocket Lab, where the capsule is on the Rocket Lab satellite. And so for New Space, we try and tap into this innovation system, all these innovators in many different ways, whether they're part of our incubator, they're part of our collaboration facilities, or part of our conferences. We're just happy they're here.
Now, in addition to New Space, Varda's roots are expanding further into New Mexico. The Air Force Research Laboratory is working with the company, having a spectrometer on Varda's last mission. AFLR couldn't, however, comment on further details of that research. When we come back, we are getting a sneak peek at the new technology designed to prevent nuclear testing anywhere on the face of the planet. And guess what? It's all happening in our own backyard. New Mexico Frontiers will be right back. With New Mexico being the birthplace of the atomic bomb, it only makes sense that our state's national labs are also responsible for monitoring other potential nuclear tests anywhere on the planet. And as Sandia and Los Alamos National Labs bring a decades-long chapter of deterrence to a close, they are already gearing up to launch next-gen technology aimed at keeping our planet safe from nuclear escalation. This is the most powerful nuclear weapon ever detonated. What you're looking at is a 50-megaton thermonuclear blast known as the Tsar Bomb. It was tested on October 30th of 1961 by the Soviet Union at Novaya Zemlya, a remote location more than 1,100 miles north of Moscow. It was 1,500 times more powerful than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima in 1945, and sparked an urgent need for the Partial Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, which was finally enacted in 1963. That ban prohibited above-ground testing of nuclear weapons across the globe as these new super bombs raced toward unimaginable destruction. That same year, Sandia and Los Alamos National Laboratories embarked on a mission to monitor atmospheric testing of nuclear weapons, a mission that is still active today.
We've been involved with building payloads for satellites
that look for nuclear detonations to basically make sure the U.S. has a capability for monitoring for treaty violations. So we've been doing this for a long time, over 60 years, and we fly a payload on every GPS satellite.
The Global Burst Detection System is just part of the United States Nuclear Deterrence Program. On board the nation's array of GPS satellites is a system of sensors that can detect and record both primary and secondary signatures of a nuclear blast.
The technology has changed over time, but basically we have optical sensors, we have radio frequency sensors and X-ray sensors that look for the different emanations that might come out of a nuclear explosion.
Sandia delivered the final system of the IIIA series in May of 2025, paving the way for the next generation of tools to launch in 2027. According to scientists at Sandia, they have been developing this new IIIF system with LANL for more than a decade. Of significance on the new design is SITES, which stands for Spectral Imaging Geolocation Hypertemporal Sensor. This new technology will offer the, quote, megapixel density optical sensor, giving a sharper eye in the sky, which will produce greater analytics for scientists and defense teams here on Earth.
We're a big part of the non-proliferation community, nuclear non-proliferation, and so we're basically trying to provide that capability as part of the overall nuclear deterrence for the nation.
In the shadows of the Cold War, new potential nuclear threats have surfaced over the years, and Sandia and Los Alamos will be able to provide state-of-the-art tools that can detect even low-yield testing, in the hopes of ensuring a future without, as President John F. Kennedy referred to, a nuclear sword of Damocles.
Hanging by the slenderest of threads, capable of being cut at any moment by accident or miscalculation or by madness.
Sandia and Los Alamos as national labs, we're really proud to support the mission and provide capabilities for the country, provide a good service for the nation. And we expect this mission to continue to endure for decades, and so we're really happy to be a part of it.
Scientists at Sandia say that they are typically working a decade ahead of schedule on technology, and the new program will be able to detect even the smallest signatures of atomic testing. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of New Mexico Frontiers. If you want more information and other stories, just head over to krqe.com and be sure that you download the all-new Kirky Now streaming service on your streaming devices. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.